Hi YouTube. Hey YouTube. Hey YouTube. So this video was I definitely didn't make a announcement about me doing this video. So I'm not sure how many people are going to join, but if you watch the replay, thank you for watching it. I did tell everyone in the previous video that I would share my path. So that is currently what I'm going to do right now. But it's going to start off with a little story time first because don't you guys want to get a little background about me? You know, for those of you who, especially for those of you who are new to my channel, I want to tell you guys thank you. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. Also, I want to thank you guys for your love donations. I want to thank you for scheduling personal readings with me. You guys just don't know how much of a blessing that is for you guys to allow me to assist you in your spiritual walk. It's a beautiful thing for me. Also, as I stated before, it helps me to fulfill my life purpose. So it's just so wonderful, and I really, really appreciate it. I really do. But I wanted to start this video off kind of giving you guys some background about me. Why not start off with my birth story? Why not? My mother, she actually, when she was pregnant with me, she developed preeclampsia. And so they rushed her. She had to be rushed to get an emergency C-section when she was pregnant with me at 26 weeks. Okay, she had me at 26 weeks. We all know pregnancies are supposed to last at least 40 weeks. And they rushed her to do an emergency C-section, and they actually told her that they could only save one of us. They said, look, we can save you or we can save your baby, but we can only save one of you guys. And my mom told them, she said, you know what? I've lived my life. I want you to save my baby. That is a tough position to be in. But she was willing to give her life for mine. Needless to say, we're both still here. But the fact that she was willing to give her life for mine, I can't even find the words to say, to express the way that makes me feel. But when I was born with a half a brain, meaning only one side of my brain was developed. Not only did I have a half a brain, but I had a hole in my heart. Not only did I have a half a brain and a hole in my heart, but I had 1.5 lung, meaning my other lung was only halfway developed. I had to have many blood transfusions. I had to stay in the hospital. My mom was supposed to have me. My due date was March. I came in December. I'm a Sag, just in case anybody wants to know. I'm a Sag. Sag sun, Sagittarius sun, Aquarius moon, and Capricorn rising. And hey to whoever is watching right now, I'm just on here telling my story, my birth story. I was telling you all how my mom had me early. I was born prematurely. I had a half a brain. I had a hole in my heart. and 1.5 long. And so, yeah, I had to have many blood transfusions. I had to stay in the hospital. My mom, she practically was about to plan her death, but like I said, we're both still here. But I just wanted to give you guys a backstory about me, and just, I'm blessed to be alive. I'm blessed to not be, having physical handicaps. I can't see from far distances. That's about it. But but as far as having like physical handicaps, like, I'm grateful. I'm intelligent. There's nothing wrong with my brain. There's nothing wrong with my heart. There's nothing wrong with my lungs. I'm healthy. I'm a healthy adult, And so I'm grateful, so grateful to be alive. Every day that I wake up, I'm grateful to be here, because my life could have ended on December 13th, 1988, the day that I got here. But it didn't. And I'm grateful to God every day that I'm alive. And so with that being said, I grew up in a household that was not very religious at all. We had free reign on as to our spiritual walk. But I remember as a child feeling very, very connected to the Most High, connected to a higher power, connected to our Creator, connected to God. I would pray every night. Nobody told me I had to pray. I just prayed because my mom told me my birth story at 5 years old. Do you know do you guys know what that did to me at that age? So young like that. And to hear that and to know that I was born not fully developed like that, I cried when my mom told me my birth story. And I remember I would tell some of my friends in elementary school, and I would show them my scars on my arm, because they had tubes and stuff all over my body. My mom said she cried because I was born with a full head of beautiful hair, and they shaved all my hair off. And she was just like, oh my gosh, my baby's hair is gone, but whatever they got to do to save her life. And so I would tell my friends in elementary school about it. And I don't know if you guys could see my scar. It's kind of hard to see on camera like that, but I have 2 holes in my arm. Have 2 holes in my arm, and actually the scars, it really is kind of hard to see on this camera, but the scars go all the way down my arm. I remember when I was young, I was so self-conscious about these scars and these holes in my arm, because I was just like, oh my gosh, I have holes in my arms. Not looking at the fact that these holes in my arms, needed to be there so they could place these tubes throughout my body and all this stuff on my body so that I could stay alive. But when I was younger, the ones on my arm, I wish you guys could see, like, my camera is not really picking it up very good, but you can kind of see a little of the grooves in it. But this right here is the one that you can really see. Can you guys let me know if y'all can see this? It's 2 holes in my arm. One right here. My camera. There's one right here, and there's one right here. And those are where they had to put the tubes. And, the blood and everything else. Everything else they had to do to save my life. But like I said, I grew up in a home that wasn't very religious. We had free reign of, our spiritual walk. We did go to church, but it was not a mandatory thing. It was not a mandatory thing. And so as a child, I was exposed to a lot of supernatural things, what you would call supernatural. I would see spirits, It seemed like I was the only one at night that would have to wake up in the middle of the night to go use the bathroom because I had an ailment with my body. And it seemed like every time I woke up 2-3 o'clock in the morning, here I am being visited by a spirit. And so anyways, as a young child, I've already knew of the spirit world and what exists. And so like I said, I would tell my friends about, the things my mom told me about my birth, and they didn't believe me. They were like, oh, you're lying. There's no way that you could be born with a half a brain and a hole in your heart and a half a lung and still be alive. I don't believe you. And so I have to bring them to my house and tell my mom to tell them the story because they did not believe me. They would look at me like, girl, you lying because there ain't nothing wrong with you. You ain't walking around like this. You lying. And so I would have to get my mom involved in order for them to believe me. But anyways, like I said, I didn't grow up in a home that was highly religious. I didn't grow up like that. Now, when I would visit my grandmother, that was a whole nother story. Because my grandmother, heavily into the church. Oh, you going to choir practice, you going to Bible study, you going to it all, honey. When I would go and spend the summers with my grandmother. So that is where I got most of my exposure to Christianity. As I got older, when I was about 7 years old, my mom, she was about to do my hair. And she was watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And she was reading a magazine. And in this magazine, it had the horoscope section. And she said, you know what? Let me check to see what my horoscope says for my sign. And she said, I'm a Scorpio. So she read hers. And then she said, Quanah, and I'm 7 years old now. I don't know anything about this stuff. I'm 7 years old. And so she's like, Quanah, let me see what your horoscope says. You were born in December. So that makes you a Sagittarius. So I'm like, what? Sagittarius? Like, what is that? I totally don't even know what you're talking about, Mom. But okay, if that's what you say. And so ever since the age of 7, when my mother introduced horoscopes into my life, it's something I've always looked into. I've been studying astrology and horoscopes and things like that for about 13 years now. Now, 5 out of those 13 years, I was a highly devoted Christian, okay? And then I got caught up in false doctrine because I went into being a Hebrew Israelite. That's definitely false. And it is false because it focuses so much on the color of your skin and making you feel like you're superior because of the color of your skin when we're spiritual beings and we're not supposed to be bogged down by fleshly things. So anyway, I had to tell that story in order because when I get ready to read my destiny, you're going to be able to see where my life has followed this path. And when I first got this book, I cried my damn eyes out because it was a time where I was totally coming back to what I already knew. See, I had gotten off my path following religion. And this is why to everyone I tell them, you have no right to judge and speak upon what somebody is doing with their life because we all have individual paths for our own souls, growth and development. It's about what we signed up to come here to learn and grow from on an individual level. It doesn't have anything to do with no one else and what they think you should be doing with your life. And I've been the one that judged people because they weren't a Christian. Oh, you're not a Christian. Oh, you're not following the true belief. Oh my gosh, you don't believe in Jesus, so you're gonna go to hell. Yeah, I was the one. I done that. That's why when people do it to me now, I'm just like, you just don't understand, honey. You're just following what you know. You're just following what you know. But once you begin to follow your own intuition, your own soul's guidance, and not follow no one else, because I done got caught up in teachers and preachers and all of that. Everything that I'm finna get ready to read, the majority of it, I've done that. Hey. Yes, girl, that's me. Ever since I was a child, I felt more spiritual than religious. And like I was saying, my parents didn't raise me to be religious at all. So I've always leaned towards spirituality, except for 5 years out of my life. For 5 years of my life, I'm only 30 years old. But for 5 years of my life, I was so caught up in religion and so devoted to religion. I'm talking about I'm the type that was staying for prayer, go to revivals, and be at revivals to 1, 2, and 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm talking about devoted to Christianity at the time when I was a Christian. And then I got into false doctrine, Hebrew Israelites, and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I just wanted to give you guys some background on me, where I come from. I didn't grow up in a highly religious. My husband, on the other hand, definitely grew up in a religious home. But me, I didn't grow up like that. My parents, we went to church and stuff, but my parents didn't, force anything upon me. And I'm grateful for that. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and read my path, because I did tell everyone that I would share my path. And I'm sure you guys are interested in knowing, because, why not? Hey, if I was y'all, I'd be interested in knowing, right? So my path is the way of extension. And I'll put the dates up for this path for anybody that's interested in knowing about it. And just in case anybody was wondering how I found your paths that I read for you, this book has a key and it lists several dates, So my path, I was born in 1988, December 13th. It makes me a Sag. And so mine would be the way of extension. So let me go ahead and read it. And it was interesting for me to see that Mariah Carey is on this path. And Joe Louis, the boxer, he was on this path. Even Naomi Campbell, the model, she's on this path too. Jennifer Lopez, I was like, wow, okay, it's a few people that's on this particular path. And so even Theodore Roosevelt is on this path. But anyway, let me get to reading. This is my path, and like I said, I'll put the dates for anybody else who wants to know, if this is their path, or if somebody is on this path. But on my birth chart, my South Node is in Virgo 1, and my South Node is in Pisces. And we know what them Pisces be about, huh? All things spiritual, right? 12th house stuff. And so it says that I would be a system builder to spirit. So it says, well, the core lesson for me and anyone else that's on this path is overcoming their propensity to seek emotional security in the small details and routines of everyday life. The goal for me and anyone else that is on this path is to structure metaphysical or theoretical ideas into a format easily understood and used by others, so that the format can be easily understood and used by others. And so I'm going to begin. The life purpose of those on the way of extension is to take their talent for structuring their ideas, work, and lives and to extend it beyond mundane concerns and average thinking into the structuring of universal or spiritual ideas or inspirations. Moreover, it is their calling to teach their theories to others so that they can be put to practical use. What you said, Miss NYC? I know it is some people. Actually, it was some people who commented on my status on Facebook who I found out were on this path. So I was like, wow, so cool. Moreover, it is their calling to teach their theories to others so that they can be put to practical use. To do this, those born on the way of extension must learn to orient themselves to the metaphysical. Which this, like I don't know if you guys heard me earlier, but this stuff, ever since I was a child, I've been getting like initiations from spirit into walking this path. No matter how practical or down to earth they may be, it is their destiny to strive toward the higher realms of consciousness. Transcending barriers of space and time, such individuals must push their powers of discrimination to the maximum so that they can perceive a kind of order in the chaotic realms of spirituality, philosophical or political ideas, even conceptual systems. See, this is why I have the thought process I have when it comes to certain things. And I know most of you who are subscribed to me on YouTube kind of don't really, I don't know if we're friends on Facebook, but it'd be some stuff going down on Facebook sometimes with people, because a lot of people who know me from my Christian days, know me from when I was very radical about my Christian ideas. But I don't follow those concepts anymore, you know? And so they feel some type of way about that. And it's like, you got to let me walk my walk, okay? You got to let me. It's for me to do what I'm doing now. But anyway, transcending barriers of space and time, such individuals must push their powers of discrimination to the maximum so that they can perceive a kind of order in the chaotic realms of spirituality, philosophical or political ideas, even conceptual systems. Sometimes this process requires a period of retreat or reflection to gather ideas, followed by a return to everyday life with an understanding of higher concepts in tow. At such a point, the individuals on the way of extension can share their unique system of thought with the world. On this karmic path, even the most earthbound or practical individuals, those who embrace little or no spiritual or religious belief system, will engage in meditation on what larger forces are at work in the world. Whether they want to or not, they must apply their analytical minds to such musings to extend their need for structure outward, much like a lasso, to rope in and tame such ideas for the benefit of all. Proceeding along this karmic path does not entail a metamorphosis or turnaround as much as a steady outward thrust from the earthly to the spiritual. The main challenge for the individuals born to the way of extension will be learning to overcome themselves and their own predilections. That is true. Here, the ability to systemize is both a curse and a gift. Far too often, those coming into a lifetime with Virgo 1 energies become bogged down with a preoccupation with the details of their lives, failing to see the proverbial forest for the trees. Oh my gosh, I've been there, telling you. These individuals feel safest when boxed in by schedules, routines, and modes of thought. 5 years of my life, I definitely have that behavior for 5 years. The problem is, these rather persistent and stubborn individuals actually like the way they have ordered their own and often everyone else's life. I've been there before too. A more process oriented or go with the flow approach causes them virulent anxiety born from a fear of being out of control. See, I've had to learn to just go with flow. But if they are to tap into deeper levels of meaning or larger concepts, the core lesson for those on this karmic path will be to release their need for the safety of being limited by structures of their own making. In the end, they will come to realize that the theoretical and spiritual are simply natural extensions of the physical and will become just as comfortable rearranging these more ethereal sides of life in better designed, more useful ways as they are with ordering their physical world. If they are successful, what those on the way of extension will offer the world is an easier grasp of larger concepts or ideas, often spiritual or at least collective. The men and women on this karmic path can make the big picture accessible and useful to the little guy. Whether they are involved in the creation of a theory of past lives and how reincarnation works, the application of economic concepts in the real world, the explication of how high finance really operates, or merely the embodiment of concepts such as feminism or democracy as a role model. Those on the way of extension can make a large mark on the world. And almost always their ideas, systems of thought, and practical applications of theory are not designed for their benefit alone, but for that of average men and women. As a result, those on this karmic path are apt to be embarrassed to discover themselves the objects of the affection and veneration of a large and welcoming audience of fans and devotees. And this is why I thank you guys so much for just supporting my channel. By you guys supporting my channel and listening to my readings and things like that, you're helping me to fulfill my destiny. And so I'm grateful for all of you who support me. Thank you so much, literally. In their heart, those born on the way of extension make the unlikeliest of gurus. But this is what they must become. For this karmic path requires that they learn to share their conceptual systems with others. Humble in the extreme, these souls are perhaps just the ones we others need to teach us a thing or two, since they are unlikely to succumb to ego inflation and all its unsavory side effects. All of the gifts given to these individuals from the outset, their feeling for structure, their dependability, and their service orientation, can be magnificent springboards for their life's work. The individuals on the way of extension are some of the most devoted in the grand cycle of life. Frequently, it is their very devotion that causes them to move beyond themselves, since their first forays into spiritual realms or more universal ideas or philosophies often occur as a result of extending themselves on behalf of others. My. Speak on it, book. Speak on it. The giving and sacrificing side of those born on the way of extension can, however, be their downfall. Too often, they push themselves too hard in trying to serve their fellows or allow others to drain them of energy or otherwise take advantage of them. Been there too. A healthy dose of looking out for number one is called for if these souls are to go the distance and truly make a mark on the world. This is why, y'all, especially for people who, may be looking for me to be uploading like that, I definitely have learned to take some time out for self-care for myself. I've had to learn that. They are, in fact, sensual people and must take care of their physical needs, both for pleasure and in terms of their health. Moreover, as much as others want to cling to them, they need to be strict about setting aside a sufficient amount of time to be alone. I've done that. Oh, well, thank you, Miss NYC. Thank you so much. It is deep. It is. It's like a wow. Moreover, as much as others want to cling to them, they need to be strict about setting aside a sufficient amount of time to be alone, as it is in solitude that they recharge and do their work. The demands of others can keep them locked in the mundane workings of life and prevent them from moving their minds and hearts into other realms. So one of the things that needed to be released for me and for anyone else that walks this path is we have to release the fear of what we can't control. And the reward for us when we do that would be the joy of giving understanding to others. So it goes on to say, the demands of others can keep them locked in the mundane workings of life and prevent them from moving their minds and hearts into other realms. The irony is that to protect themselves, these individuals must often rely on the very routines or structures this karmic path requires that they ultimately transcend. Now, ain't that a tough cookie? Goodness. There is a subtle but important point. However, daily physical routines can be utilized to erect protective boundaries, but rigid structures of the mind and rote molds of thought must be overcome. And I definitely had to overcome that. I'm telling you, I was the most... Talk about a hardcore Christian. Not only was I a hardcore Christian, but I was a hardcore Hebrew Israelite. And I haven't got to that section yet, but it's going to talk about how people on this path can fall into false doctrines. And I can say that I've done that. Until I actually took the time to sit with myself and go back to what was natural for me, which has always been horoscopes and astrology and spirituality, period. That was my natural flow of how I did things. Like I said, I didn't grow up in a religious home. My husband, on the other hand, he did. And me getting into the things me going back to the things that I already was interested in really caused some stuff to take place in my relationship with my husband, because he didn't understand what I had going on, and he thought that what I was doing was evil. And so, but let me get back to this. So there's a subtle but important point, however. Daily physical routines can be utilized to erect protective boundaries, but rigid structures of the mind and rote molds of thought must be overcome. Often, with these men and women, an overly strict adherence to physical routines simply mirrors a crystallization of thinking and a dependence on mental structures. Once these individuals break their reliance on mental routines, the physical holds no more power and can safely be used as a tool to create health and well being. Since mental orientation is so crucial for these people, it is important for them to receive some form of guidance early in life on how to expand their worldview or thinking into more theoretical or creative paths, which is something that my mom did. In the beginning of this video, I mentioned that at the age of 7, my mother introduced horoscopes to me, which actually helped to expand my mind to the greater. Even her telling me my birth story immediately expanded my mind to a greater purpose and a greater cause. So I'm definitely grateful that she did that for me. Of course, on this karmic path, there is the potential to overreach, or even to be led astray by false doctrines. Been there. Overly ambitious teachers talk about getting caught up in people. I wouldn't recommend getting caught up in anyone because I've been there. I got caught up in teachers and preachers and bishops, and I got caught up in the people. So definitely never get caught up in anyone. Always research things on your own. No matter what the person says, you do your own research. And that's with anything. Those who intend to seek a full-blown religious or spiritual experience may have to remember to engage their practicality and healthy propensity for doubt. I had to remember that walking this path. Yes, I did. However, the way of extension is usually experienced in a highly personal or more solitary fashion. That's true. Joining formal religious or spiritual groups may occur, even with good results, but usually such organizations serve only a temporary purpose. And this, I'm glad I'm reading this because this is for everybody in Miss NYC. I know you don't know this, but this is for anybody that has so much to say about my transitions and thinking that they know my life via Facebook. It was a part of my path to go down these different belief systems that I was a part of in the past. I had to go through those things to get to where I'm at now. And this is why you must not speak upon other people and what you don't know about them. Because like I stated in the beginning of this video, everybody has an individual soul purpose. And you don't know what that other person's soul purpose is. So it is not for you to speak upon their lives or try to say, oh, you're going to hell because you do this and you do that. It's so crazy what being stuck. And I know not everybody who follows religion thinks like this, but the people I've encountered, they think that if you are not following what they follow or you're not doing what they do, then you're evil, you're a witch, you're this, you're going to hell, you're lost, and all kinds of stuff. And it's sad that they think like that. It's sad that their religious connotations make them feel like that and think like that about people. But anyway, it says joining formal religious or spiritual groups may occur, even with good results, but usually such organizations serve only a temporary purpose. That's why it was only 5 years for me. The best companions or mates for those on this karmic path are like-minded others who strive for a broader or more spiritual experience in life. What is best for those on the way of extension is the steady love and support of a few close associates with strong boundaries who will not be dependent or needy. Those on the way of extension must be free to experiment and to soar in the rarefied atmosphere of their highly personal visionary experience. And this is why I constantly, for the people who follow me on Facebook, I constantly say, look, this is an individual experience, guys. You can't put your ideas onto my life and try to say I'm wrong and this and that. You can't do that. Okay, I'm here to experience what I need to experience for me. And you are to do the same. In return, their associates will have a devoted and generous friend or mate who provides them with a whole new way of seeing things. Career crises are not uncommon on the way of extension. At some point in their lives, these men and women may be forced to confront their assumptions about the nature of fame, wealth, and power. Scaling back or even discarding their ambitions may be necessary for their continued spiritual growth. Eventually, a balance can be reached between the satisfaction of their material and spiritual needs. Participating in study and discussion groups is most beneficial to the men and women on the way of extension, since it will keep their thinking open to new ideas and concepts. Examining doctrines, weeding through theories, and discarding useless concepts while integrating others are all necessary on an ongoing basis if those on this karmic path are to distill and perfect their hard-won vision or theories. The image that comes to mind to describe the way of extension is a tree with its root system grounded deep within the earth. It orients its branch and leaf structures toward the life-giving energy of the sun. Simply by being alive, the tree converts sunlight and carbon dioxide into something everyone can use: life-giving oxygen. Now that is just beautiful. So one of the suggestions for the people who are on this path is know your own self-imposed limitations and realize that they can be overcome. Be aware of when you retreat into structure for safety, and protect your health at all times. And I have to make sure I protect my health. Now, one of the interesting things and another thing that made me cry when I got this book was the fact the week before I got this book, I was looking at different crystals and things. And I came across a crystal called Motivite. I was actually looking into astral projection and things like that, because when we sleep, our soul travels the astral realm. You know, a lot of people aren't aware of that, but when you go to sleep, your soul leaves your body and it travels the astral plane. But you don't die, because there's a silver cord, and it's like almost like a fishing rod. So when you go and travel the astral plane when you're asleep, your spirit comes back into your body before you wake up, which is sometimes you might be a little groggy, or you might feel like, wait a minute, what happened, or anything. Yes, that's right, Miss NYC. It definitely was. It definitely was. But so I was actually looking at astral projection, and the crystal Motivite had came up, and it was saying that Motivite aids in astral projection and things like that. And so at this time, I was still kind of coming out of my, okay, for me, these are my stages. So my stages was this, what I'm on right now, from the age of 7 all the way until I graduated high school. I was interested in what I'm showing you guys right now. Destiny readings, horoscopes, astrology, all of that. So from the age of 7 all the way to the age of 18, this what I'm on right now is what I was interested in. But when I graduated high school and I got married, it is when I became very, 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 very religious. Okay, very. And then I got caught up in the Hebrew Israelite thing. All right. So me coming out, I was at when I discovered Motivate, I was coming out of my Hebrew Israelite stage. And so all of this, you going to hell about everything. I don't know if y'all familiar about Hebrew Israelite stuff, but you going to hell for every damn thing in the Hebrew Israelite religion or doctrine, whatever you want to call it. You going to hell for everything. Hey, Cynthia, how you doing? But yeah, so I was kind of still a little leery of even looking into crystals, you guys, or even going back to what I already was accustomed to, which was horoscopes and astrology and stuff like that. So I was a little leery of it. And so when I found this book and I read about my destiny, and then I read about the crystal that's recommended for the people on my path, knowing that the week prior to me getting this book, I had just looked at this crystal. That's how spirit works. Ain't it beautiful? Ain't it beautiful, y'all? But anyways, a week prior to me getting this book, I was looking at crystals. And I was looking at Motivate. And it was saying that it aids in astral projection and out-of-body experiences and things like that. And so I was like, wow, I really want to get this crystal, but I was still kind of scared. And shout out to Miss Nicole, because Miss Nicole, honey, brought me through some stuff. Okay, she helped me along the way, and so I appreciate her. So shout out to you, Miss Nicole. I don't know if you're gonna watch the video, but shout out to you. Thank you for you following your path. Thank you for that, because you helped me. Okay, but anyway, so I had came across Motivate, and when I got this book, the crystal recommended for the people on this path was Motivate. And it says, Motivate stimulates the individual to consider realms beyond the mundane and, in fact, beyond this galaxy. This tech type assists in communicating complex ideas in a clear and accessible manner. And so what I did was, when I found this book, I went out to my metaphysical shop and I went and got my butt some Motivate, and I made me a choker out of it. So this is my Motivate right here. It's green. It's a tektite. It was formed by an asteroid hitting the earth. And it is a very, very, very powerful stone. Let me tell y'all, I had it the first time that I worked with this crystal, I had an out-of-body experience, and I'll share it in another story time. But it was amazing. It was amazing. So I just want to share. And what'd you say, Cynthia? Okay. So I just want to share one person, Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce, he was known as the sleeping psychic. And I actually, before I got this book, I was actually studying him and the things that, he brought forth. Edgar Cayce would actually diagnose people with with their ailments. He would tell them what they had going on by going into a trance, being around them. He would tell them, oh, you're going to have heart problems, or you have heart problems, or you have this, or you have that, without even knowing anything about them. So I definitely had started studying Edgar Cayce and the things that he did, but he was on this particular path. So back then, when I was going through the changes that I was going through, I was like, oh my gosh. I just love how those synchronicities, how spirit worked, because everything that I was doing and every information that I was coming across was letting me know that I was on the right path. At the end of the day, that's what most people want to know. Am I on the right path? Am I following my soul's mission? Am I doing what I came here to do? And so this book just justified everything for me. And it brought everything back around full circle for me. And it was just so liberating to know that I had been studying this guy, Edgar Cayce, and to know that I was interested in the Motivite, and to come across this book that just told me everything. It was just so freeing. But anyways, let me read about Edgar Cayce. So he's on this path. He was on this path too. And it says, Edgar Cayce remains one of America's most widely known and highly regarded psychics. His calling, like many on the way of extension, was to bring the metaphysical into daily life so it could be understood by everyone. Cayce did more than 14,000. 14,000. It said he did more than that. He did more than 14,000 individual psychic readings, which many of them were on health. They were recorded and cataloged. These are still being studied today. Yes, they show life long after his death. Because of Cayce's work, difficult concepts such as reincarnation and prophecy were elucidated in a direct and simple way. His humble origins on a Kentucky farm gave him the grounded quality that others trusted so firmly when consulting him. And see, that's one of the things that blesses me too, because I get a lot of Christians actually that come to me for personal readings, and they tell me all the time, I've never done this, but it's just something about you that makes me comfortable doing it. And that is a freaking blessing. That blesses the heck out of me. For them to, in Christianity, they tell you it's wrong to consult a psychic and stuff like that. But for them to feel comfortable with me, to never have gotten a reading done, and to still follow their religious path that they're on, that is a beautiful thing. And so, yeah, a lot of times, y'all, I be crying tears of gratefulness, because it took a lot. And I was one that was very quiet. I was a quiet, very withdrawn, introverted person. So for me to even be on camera talking to anybody, and still sometimes when I'm in social gatherings, I'm still a little withdrawn, because I'm not an outro. What do you call it? It's introvert and outrovert, whatever. I might be calling it the wrong thing, but I'm introverted. So I don't really, and for me to be, I was so shy, guys. Ain't no way in a million years I'll be sitting in front of this camera live talking to anybody. But it's just the growth that takes place when you just release control, which is something I had to learn. Release control, go with the flow, and let my life unfold the way it was unfolding. Let me see what y'all saying. Well, y'all got me laughing. Cynthia say the sun's so bright she can barely see the comments. Well, you'll see them once you go inside. But I just want to thank y'all too for listening to my story. I just wanted to share, parts about me so you guys can understand me more, and so you can know my path and know why, my readings are the way they are. Because sometimes I be going in on my readings, but y'all, it's just a blessing to be able to step out of my comfort zone, for real. It really is. So I just want to thank y'all for tuning in and listening. And hey to everyone that watches the replay. And yes, this week before the 1st, I will have the May overviews out. So be looking out for that. It will be done at least by Wednesday. Because Tuesday. Tuesday is the 30th. And I want to get it out before the 1st, which is Wednesday. So today or tomorrow, they'll be up here. And then, of course, I'll be working on the individual ones. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys so much. Peace, love, and light to y'all. And I'll catch y'all in a couple of days. You guys have a blessed day, all right?